Booksy, welcome back to my channel. Today we're back to continue with a read aloud read along of Maya Angelou's second memoir, Gathered Together in My Name. We've been reading together chapters of this book as well as her earlier memoir, and earlier videos will be linked in the description box down below. So if you're new to the series and you'd like to start with the earlier book or earlier chapters in this book, you can click the playlist and start there. Otherwise, today we're going to continue with chapter 24. If you have a copy of the book, read along with me. Otherwise, you can just listen to me read. Chapter 24 in this edition of the book begins on page 137. We are at the point where Maya Angelou has been dancing professionally, and so we're going to continue with that part of the story. Poole and Rita were booked into the Champagne Supper Club. Pride made me go berserk. I quit my job. How could I exchange the glittering sequined bathing suit and purple satin tap shoes for a waitress apron and old lady comforts? I wouldn't insult my muse, Terpsichore, by letting even the idea of the chicken shack enter into my thoughts. A 2-week engagement in big time, and I was ready. My lights and stars, my name in lights, my name in stars. For a few months before the opening, we worked for whatever money was offered and practiced daily. RL showed me increasingly complicated steps. As soon as I learned, he laced them into our routines. When I had no cash, I asked Mother for a loan. I explained that I was investing my time in career preparation, and when the investment paid off, she would be with me, holding hands and laughing and reaping the returns. With characteristic talent, she enlarged my skit into a full-length review, and she was the star. She reminded me that during the war years, when she had had lots of money and could have afforded to sit back idle, she had studied barbering, cosmetology, ship fitting, welding, tool and die making, and that the diplomas attesting to her perseverance hung on the walls of her den. She said she had no intention of ever going to work in an airplane factory or barber shop, but if push came to shove, she snapped her fingers, she was qualified. She approved of sticking to an idea until it was definitely proven bad or good. She lent me the money without further preachments, and Poole and Rita continued to practice. Although I lived and ate at home, the small savings I kept in a jar under my bed diminished. My son always seemed to need new clothes. On Sundays, I traditionally brought fresh flowers for the house. And then there were the tap shoes. Rehearsing wore out more taps than dancing 3 times a night in a cabaret. I approached Bailey for a small advance. He sat, stubble-jawed, on his corduroy sofa and looked at the adjacent wall. I put Eunice in the hospital. She's very sick. What's wrong with her? I made my voice soft. She just had a cold, that's all. But he didn't believe that was all. Well, come on, she's young. Nobody dies from a cold. If only I could get him to look at me. I went on making a joke. They only wish they could. Yeah. He put his feet on the cluttered coffee table, leaned back on the sofa, and closed his eyes. Goodbye, Maya. Bailey, it's not that serious. He didn't try to hear me, and I could not intrude further by repeating myself. The apartment stank of dead flowers and dirty dishes. His voice blurred, but didn't rise or fall. I've cut out all the runs except Los Angeles, so I can be with her. The room was oppressive, as if a large hand had squeezed the gaiety out of it, drop by drop, and then released it to resume its former shape. I was getting so I could fairly fly through the routine. My romance with RL was danced out in the rehearsal hall because he made few sexual demands. I gave no arguments to his monthly requests for lovemaking. After all, he was my teacher and my transportation to Broadway. But I was grateful that they didn't come with greater frequency. An artist, I was certain, protected and preserved his instrument. Pianists, drummers, horn players, saxists all looked after their instruments. As a dancer, my instrument was my body. I couldn't just allow a person, anyone, to screw my instrument. Opening night arrived. Mother had taken a large table for her friends, and Bailey miraculously didn't have to be on the road or at the hospital. The nightclub, which was large and bedizened with glittering, spinning lights, was full. Excitement made me glow, and the lights backstage rubbed away RL's pockmarks. We looked at ourselves in a large mirror. He was absolutely dashing in his powder blue tuxedo, and I was as glamorous as Esther Williams in my swimsuit, and could dance better too. The MC called our names, and the band swung into our introduction. RL said in his slow voice, "Okay, Rita, break a leg." Show business talk. I grinned. You too. And we hit the stage. The first moments on reality was caused by the lights. I couldn't see the audience, and I thought about the first time when I panicked and froze to the stage. Maybe this was happening again. Maybe I had frozen. I couldn't tell if I was moving. But suddenly, I heard the clap of taps breaking, exploding through the band's arrangement, and I found I was on the far side of the stage, and it was time for me to break. I was dancing. My feet and body were doing the right things. With that, I let go. Just let the orchestra push, prod, and pull me. I surrendered every memory I had to oblivion and let myself dance. Every time I danced near RL, I laughed out loud at the perfect glory of it all. The music was my friend, my lover, my family. It was a pretty day on a San Francisco hill with just enough height to remark on details. It was my son laughing when I entered his room. Great poetry that I had memorized and recited to myself in a warm bath. The band was playing the closing riffs and RL took my hand. We danced to the edge of the stage and bowed. The audience applauded moderately, except for Mother's table and a bravo from where Bailey sat near the door. I never knew whether the great disappointment came from having to stop dancing or from the fact that the audience didn't jump up, run screaming for the stage to touch my victory. But in the dressing room, I began to drown in a depression sea. Neither the flowers Bailey sent nor Mother's smile saved me. 2 more shows to do that night, and by the last one, I was questioning whether I was cut out for showbiz, whether or not it was too coarse for my pure and delicate nature, too commercial for my artistic soul. All the area's drunks and sporting people caught the last show, and I was again intoxicated. They shouted, "Shake it, baby! Dance, baby, dance!" Made noise, stumbled around from table to table, and the sense of gay activity helped Poole and Rita and the orchestra to recreate the earlier magic. The patrons may not really have noticed the very tall, big-nosed dancing fool up there, but their vitality locked me into a love of performing that continued for many years. Except for a few casuals, one-night performances in convention halls, the talent of Poole and Rita was going largely unappreciated. We refused the itinerant offers to perform at Stags. I said I would never dance nude for a bunch of white men to gape at me. RL agreed and tried to appear possessive, but probably the larger truth was that we couldn't work up a Beauty and Beast routine. Neither did I have the attributes to portray beauty, nor did he have the body to dance Beast. We would have been ludicrous. The gigs at the Elks were bright splashes in the dull landscape. In Black communities, there's a counterpart to the white segregated secret society, BPOE, Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks. We call ours the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks of the World. I had been initiated into the mysterious organization as a teenager and had once won prizes in its oratorical contest, and now our dance team was hired at the hilarious and good fun Dansans. The middle-aged ladies, usually stout and dressed more attractively than the women whose houses they cleaned, patted me after the shows and admired my leanness. "Honey, you sure know how to shake that thing." A big, pretty laugh. I used to shake it like that, but them days is gone forever. Then they would run their palms down my side. "Bet your mama is proud of you." I bet you she is. And she was. And I was proud of myself. Blue Flame and Caravan were my favorite dance arrangements because RL laid out most of the time and I danced barefoot in little balls of blue ostrich feathers and Indian bells at my ankles. I tried to imitate Frances Neely, a beautiful black woman who had played an Egyptian dancer in a 40s Technicolor movie. A few Dorothy Lamour hand movements and Ann Miller leg kicks just added spice. Then Cotton Candy Adams came to town. "Let me be your little dog till your big dog come. Let me be your little dog till your big dog come. And when your big dog come, tell him what your little dog done." RL's words stumbled when he started to tell me about his ex-girlfriend and former dancer. "Oh, Rita, Candy and I mean, she was my old lady and she left me. That is, we used to dance together. She came out here. I mean, she said when she left me, if she ever changed her mind, she would find me." "Okay, RL, she came. Are you all going back together?" I was as snappy as I thought a chorus dancer would be. "See, Rita, she's a dancer. I mean, she's great. She used to dance with Parker and Johnson and she was worked the Orpheum circuit." He had stopped stuttering. She brought her costumes, really flash feather fans with rhinestones. See, most of what I taught you, I mean, shyness tripped his tongue and he began to stutter again. Wait till you meet her. You're going to think, I think you like each other. Sure thing, bozo. I had never called a living soul bozo. I'd be delighted to meet her. Cotton Candy was the picture of every daddy's little girl. Her real hair hung down in black waves and dimples punctured her light brown cheeks. She had a cute walk which wavered between a wonton strut and a little girl mince. And then she opened her mouth. Hi Rita, RL told me about you. You're a dancer. I didn't know how to hold the shock. Her teeth were rotten and her lips refused to help mold her words. I looked at her eyes and understood. They shone feverishly, yet seemed lifeless. Cotton Candy was a user. Certainly RL knew. After all, he was from Chicago. I couldn't grasp why he would want to get reconciled with her, and I knew from the enchanted way he watched her that was exactly what he wanted. Yes, I'm a dancer. Are you planning to dance in San Francisco? Might as well have it out in the open. Oh, yes. Although RL was feet from her, she cuddled up in his direction. RL and I are going to brush up her old act and get started again. She closed her mouth and dimpled. Her eyes slowly moved to RL. Isn't that what you said, Boogie? Yeah, we'll do all that stuff we used to do. I had to get away immediately. Well, good luck to you both. Break a leg. I walked away from the lovers before they could see the life leaking out of me. At home, I paced the floors. Mother had taken my son out and Papa Ford snored in the small back room. I cursed Cotton Candy for coming to San Francisco and consigned RL to hell for being stupid enough to take her back. My career was over before it began. My tears came hot and angry. I had dared so many things and failed. There was to be nothing left to do. I had given Curly my young love. He had gone away to marry another woman. The self-defense tactics with the lesbians had gained me a whorehouse, which I had neither the skill nor the courage to keep. I had fled to the home of my youth and had been sent away. The army and now my dance career, the one thing I wanted beyond all others, needed in fact, for my son but mostly for myself, had been plucked right out of my fingers. All the doors had slammed shut and I was locked into a too tall body with an unpretty face and a mind that bounced around like a ping pong ball. I gave into sadness because I had no choice. A few days passed and RL didn't come to the house. I telephoned him. He was distracted but promised to drop by and talk about it. I waited past the afternoon hour he mentioned and long into the night. He never came. He didn't call. If we had had the opportunity to talk about it laboriously and painfully, I might have been forever lost in the romance of romance lost. But with no sounding board except my own ears and honest thoughts, I had to stop weeping. It was too exhausting. And admit that Cotton Candy had dibs on him and maybe RL felt more loyal to her because she was a user and needed him. There was nothing about me to bind anyone to me in sympathy. No limp, no habit, crossed eyes, or attitude of helplessness. I decided I'd try to sort out my life. I tried to crush the thoughts of self-pity that needled into my brain and told myself that it was time to roll up my costumes, which would eternally have the odor of grease paint in their seams, and put away the tap shoes, which hurt my feet anyway. For after all, only poets care about what happened to the snows of yesteryear, and I hadn't time to be a poet. I had to find a job, get my grits together and take care of my son. So much for showbiz. I was off to live real life. That's the end of chapter 24. We'll be back next time to continue with chapter 25. I hope you'll join me for that reading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let's chat in the comments. I'd love to know if you've been reading along with me all throughout this book and the previous book, what you've thought about the story so far. Let's chat down there, and until next time, happy reading. Bye.